McLaren's improvement this season has been absolutely staggering. Lando Norris's fourth podium of the season at Suzuka moved him above George Russell in the Drivers' Championship, and Oscar Piastri's first of his career is a sign of much more to come. As well as things ended for the pair though, Sergio Perez almost ruined the race for them. Today we'll check out McLaren's incredible weekend and how Checo found himself on the receiving end of Lando's rage. So, don't go anywhere. Lando Norris believes McLaren's strong driver pairing can be a big advantage as the team celebrated an important milestone with a double podium at the Japanese Grand Prix. British driver Norris finished second for a second consecutive race, albeit well behind dominant race winner Max Verstappen, while teammate Oscar Piastri secured his first podium in his debut Formula 1 season. After a tough start to the year, McLaren have impressed since their first big upgrade began at July's Austrian Grand Prix. Norris finished fourth at Spielberg before picking up back-to-back second places at Silverstone and in Hungary. Piastri has exceeded expectations this season, with a number of strong displays earning the Australian an extended contract earlier this week. He rewarded Zak Brown's faith in him at Suzuka with a performance that was all the more impressive given that he'd never been to Japan before. While McLaren are on the up, Aston Martin have struggled recently as Lance Stroll has failed to score since the summer break, and Fernando Alonso has taken just 4 points from the last 3 events. It's definitely doable. All we can do is be as competitive as we can every weekend, McLaren CEO Zak Brown said when asked about catching Aston Martin. Despite the race and the weekend as a whole being incredibly impressive for McLaren, it wasn't without incident. After the race, Norris admitted he was shouting and swearing as the slow-moving Sergio Perez cost him 10 seconds in race time under the virtual safety car conditions. The virtual safety car came out after Perez had collided with the Haas of Kevin Magnussen, with both drivers requiring a trip to the pit lane for repairs. And during that VSC period, Norris found himself behind Perez, who was travelling at a very slow speed, though Norris was unsure whether he could overtake the Red Bull driver or not. Ultimately, Norris claimed that it cost him up to 10 seconds and left him very flustered in the McLaren cockpit. Asked what was going on during that Perez VSC incident, Norris replied, "I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, he must have had a problem, right? But the thing is, you can't overtake under VSC, and it's obvious the guy has a problem, and I don't know what was going on. I didn't know if he had a problem, whether he was just backing me up, I don't know, and I couldn't take the risk of just overtaking him." Overtaking under safety car conditions actually cost Sergio Perez a 5-second penalty earlier in the race, one of the 2 the Mexican driver picked up before retiring on lap 15. If you want to know more about that, then check out our video from yesterday after this one. He was going so slow, and then when we get the flashing dash for VSC ending, he went into first gear, and then I was on the outside of him because he was going so slow and then almost crashed into me. So honestly, I have no idea. I was shouting in my helmet, I was swearing quite a bit, but I just got so confused. I didn't know what I could do. I'm losing time to Max. The Ferrari guys I think 1.4 seconds behind me after being I think 12 or 13, so I lost 10 seconds. And it's just I didn't know what I could do at the time. Perez was going as slowly as he was because his car had picked up damage from the crash with K-Mag, which meant Red Bull wanted him to retire, even after pitting him after that incident to change his front wing. It is an unfortunate incident which probably could have been avoided if Perez had made it more obvious that he was retiring from the race, something that Lando pointed out. If he has a problem, he should pull over and make it obvious that he has a problem. So he didn't, and therefore I couldn't take the risk of passing under VSC, so no idea. I don't think it would have changed the world, just made me stress a little bit more. But it would have been maybe just a bit better to put Max under a little bit of pressure at least after that. Like Lando says, at the end of the day, it made little differences to the race. He finished 19 seconds behind Max and 17 ahead of his teammate Oscar Piastri. All things considered, this was an unbelievably good weekend for McLaren, who before their upgrades in Austria only had 5 points finishes in 8 races. With both drivers finishing on the podium, McLaren have shown that they not only improved the car immensely over the course of the season, but that they also have the drivers to make the most of the improved car. Norris feels their combined strength is a major plus for McLaren as they chase down Aston Martin in the Constructors' Championship. I think our advantage at the minute, comparing to almost every team, bar a couple, is we have 2 drivers who are up there fighting for these positions and fighting for these points, Norris said after the race at Suzuka, taking a dig at Aston Martin's underwhelming Lance Stroll. And not every team has that at the minute, so I think that's helping us. We can help one another, we can use one another, and I think that's a good advantage we have over a lot of other teams at the minute. So we're on an upward trend. We're making good progress, and days like today prove exactly that. It has been a remarkable transformation for McLaren, who had started the season well off the pace and admitted they had failed to hit the aerodynamic targets they'd been hoping for with their car. Since those season-defining upgrades in Austria, everything has changed though. Norris has scored 4 second places and Oscar Piastri has become a regular point scorer. Suzuka was the team's first double podium since Monza in 2021 when Daniel Ricciardo won, with Norris second, but that was a contest where they were both aided in their task after Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton came together, ending both their races. Despite the differential to Red Bull, Norris went as far as saying they really were beginning to rein in the world champions. "We're pushing, we're getting there," he said. "The progress we've made is pretty outstanding. Like I said, I'm very proud of the team and the steps forward we're making every weekend." Of course, nothing is going to change this season. The next round is at Qatar in 2 weeks, where Verstappen will wrap up the driver's title in Saturday's sprint race if he scores just 3 points. Next season, though, is a completely different question, and with the technical regulations staying the same, McLaren are making a strong case for being favourites to challenge Red Bull. As he crossed the line in Japan, the Briton came on the team radio and said, "Double podium, we're coming for Red Bull." Whether he was talking about this season or next, we don't know, but team principal Andrea Stella is more cautious about expectations for the rest of the season. While he is delighted with the progress that has been made through 2023, he thinks that Red Bull, especially with Max Verstappen at the wheel, are not yet within touching distance in pure pace terms. In the context of next season though, anything is possible. McLaren, and earlier in the season Aston Martin, have shown that big leaps in performance are possible, and if anyone is seriously going to challenge Red Bull, they'll need an off-season like Aston Martin had. After changing from the zero-pod car, Mercedes were probably the favourites to make that leap. They have to produce a brand new chassis to accommodate the new side pod design, which is currently compromised by the old chassis. But as the season has progressed, the positivity post-zero pod has started to wane, as the team have made almost no improvement relative to Red Bull, despite upgrading the car. Lewis Hamilton says his team needs the greatest 6 months of development it has ever had, if it is to compete with Red Bull in 2024. Hamilton's comments come in the context of a Japanese Grand Prix weekend, in which he was the lead Mercedes in qualifying, but more than a second off Max Verstappen's pole-sitting Red Bull. By the end of Sunday, Max was 49 seconds ahead of Lewis. Hamilton said that Mercedes making an improvement in performance like McLaren would require it to fully invest in pursuing the type of concept pioneered by Red Bull from the start of the ground effect rule set in 2022. The evidence is there at McLaren, and we can't turn a blind eye to that. We've got to look at what they've done and go in that direction, he said. That is the direction, and I truly believe my team can do it. We've always been great at putting downforce on the car. It's just that with the way our car currently works, adding downforce doesn't work. It just makes it bounce more. Mercedes' attempts to handle the current regulations haven't worked. They still don't seem to understand how to get the most out of the ground effect flaws. If they do intend to follow Red Bull's design next season, there's going to be a lot of learning that needs to happen. McLaren have shown it is possible though. The Papaya team have clearly learned a lot this season, and while challenging Red Bull before the winter is probably a step beyond them, they have to be favourites to do it in 2024 at the moment. What did you think of McLaren's double podium at Suzuka? Are they your favourites to challenge Red Bull next season? Let me know in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.